WHS Legislation, Work Health and Safety Act 2011 and the Work Health and Safety Regulation 2017. So, legislation is the highest level of documentation in relation to WHS and is the foundation from which other documentation is created. Legislation is made in Parliament by members of the government and has implications that are legally binding in relation to all members of the public. Essentially, if you go against legislation, you are breaking the law. So, this is how laws are made, and specifically the laws related to safety in the workplace. Below, we'll take a look at the existing health and safety legislation that has been developed by the New South Wales state government in relation to safety. So, the foundation document is the Work Health and Safety Act 2011. And you can see here, I've retrieved this from the actual New South Wales legislation website. And so, pretty much that link there will take you straight to the legislation. Essentially, this is the main legislation in relation to health and safety in the form of the Work Health and Safety Act 2011. The Act is the foundation document, as said, from which all other WHS material is created. With its creation, the Work Health and Safety Act 2011 establishes the following areas as law because it's written in the actual Act. So these things are law and specifically related to the IDT course as well. I'm focusing on these few key areas. So the PCBU, the person conducting business or undertaking, their specific duty of care requirements in relation to their workplace, and what consequences are in place if they do not adhere to these requirements. It also goes into the duties of officers, so those people appointed to ensure that health and safety is managed in the workplaces, as well as workers and other individuals who enter the workplace and their safety obligations. The actual area of consultation and participation, which was a big factor introduced with this specific legislation, is also introduced here. And that factor relates to that people are taking part and are active in relation to safety in the workplace, so that when a PCBU finds out information, they let their workers know. But also, workers themselves have the right to identify and see things that might be dangerous in the workplace and bring that to the attention of their PCBU or managers or their representative and ensure that they get followed up to sustain a safe working environment. The legislation looks at the development of WHS committees and the election of a specific health and safety representative, individuals who are given powers within a workplace to look out for their fellow workers, but also shut down areas and contact external bodies when unsafe practices are taking place. And that can supersede the actual powers of the PCBU if environments are dangerous. Okay, so they're given powers and it's supported by this law in order to make sure that the work environment is safe. And then finally, incident notification. Categories of different incidents that can take place and how to report these incidents when they do occur. So it's quite a comprehensive document in order to be compliant with. And for this reason, and I've mentioned in another video too, from here then we develop what's known as a regulation. And this regulation that relates to the Work Health and Safety Act is the Work Health and Safety Regulation 2017. There was one developed in 2011, but it's obviously been revised and renewed in 2017, updated for obviously things that have been picked up in workplaces and the application of the previous regulation. The regulation is made based on the specific act and is also legally binding. It goes into more specific details, outlining principles and procedures which can be practically incorporated into a workplace. This specific regulation provides a further detail in relation to the following areas. Okay, the representation and participation of employees in the workplace. And once again, going further on how a HSR is elected by employees to represent them in relation to health and safety matters. It has further detail on issue resolution, giving procedures and minimum requirements that will take place in order to resolve issues within the workplace. It goes over risk management procedures in the workplace, looking at different areas of risk management and different environments and potential ways that risk management strategies can be applied. And also the four categories of risk management of what takes place, that of hazard identification, risk assessment, implementing risk control methods, and monitoring and reviewing whatever control methods were put in place as an ongoing procedure. It looks at first aid, emergency practices for working in hazardous environments, and all environments are hazardous, just some are more hazardous than others with higher risk. Okay, and then how do we manage the different categories of hazards that exist within these different environments? Okay, and then finally, the duties and practices of PCBUs going into their responsibility, how they go about policy and practices, and ensuring that they're creating environments that do encourage consultation and participation from everyone within the workplace environment. So I hope this video has given you an understanding of legislation, specifically these two documents, the Work Health and Safety Act 2011 as the foundation document and law relating to safety in the workplace, and how the regulation goes into further detail of the act, giving more specific information in key areas such as risk management, such as participation and consultation, and the duties of PCBUs in order to provide and create safer work environments for all workplaces in New South Wales.